Good morning, distinguished guests, industry leaders, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an honor and privilege to address such a versatile gathering today here. As we are aware, the Indian broadcasting landscape has transformed substantially over the past few years. Initially, as we all know, the television broadcasting was started by Doordarshan, the public sector broadcaster, and subsequently this sector was opened for private participation and private operators were also allowed to broadcast and distribute the television channels to the masses through cable TV system. So that era witnessed linear television services, especially in analog mode, and distribution services through cable TV systems. Subsequently, the introduction of digital addressable system, that is normally termed as DAS, was introduced based on TRAI's recommendations. And now, these days, we find ourselves navigating through complex ecosystem where various platforms and services are increasingly converging, requiring frequent alignment of regulatory frameworks. So, as we all know, India's broadcasting landscape is a classical example of diversity, with many regional dialects and culture, which requires broadcasting in different languages as well as genres to cater to the requirements of the different strata of society. We boast a vibrant ecosystem comprising of various pay and free-to-air channels and broadcasters who are offering such channels. Distribution segment has several multi-system operators, MSOs linked local cable operators. In addition, there are other distribution systems like DTH, HITS, IPTV, etc. This, if you see the numbers, so there are hundreds of broadcasters, MSOs, though the number of IPTV is less than 100, and only one HITS operator is there, and there are at least four DTH operators are there. So this multitude of players has cultivated a competitive market, offering wider choices and greater affordability to the consumers. So, at the heart of this dynamic ecosystem stands the TRAI, that is Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, which regulates this sector since 2004. For ensuring orderly growth of the sector, TRAI has been proactively working not only towards creating conducive environment for service providers, but also towards protecting the interest of the consumers. From time to time, TRAI has intervened through a series of regulations, tariff orders, and directions. In addition to these regulations, tariff orders, and directions, TRAI has also recommended to the government for streamlining the policy framework and production of new services. So the guiding principles while framing these regulations, tariff orders, directions and recommendations have always been transparency, non-discrimination, protection of consumers' interests, and establishment of a level playing field for all stakeholders. If you look through the transition from analog TV broadcasting to digital addressable system, that is DAS, and the corresponding regulatory frameworks which evolved during this transformative journey, you may find that there is a comprehensive set of regulations prescribed by TRAI encompassing the tariff order, interconnection regulation, and quality of service and consumer protection regulations, which was issued first time in the March 2017. And from time to time, this has undergone multiple revisions to address the pain points of the stakeholders and consumers. So this regulatory framework has been successful in fostering harmonized business processes across the sector, ensuring a level playing field for all stakeholders, thereby balancing the interest of broadcasters and distributors. As a consequence, there have been ease of compliance to the regulations and decrease in the litigations and disputes among stakeholders. Most importantly, the regulatory framework empowered consumers with the freedom of choice of selection of channels which they want to watch. The regulatory framework introduced in March 2017 has undergone multiple revisions, as I mentioned earlier, and each revision addressed the emerging challenges and stakeholder concerns. The primary objective driving these amendments or revisions was facilitate growth of the broadcasting sector by reducing regulatory mandates and compliance requirements. Number two, provide flexibility to the service providers to adopt a market-driven approach while safeguarding the interest of the consumers and small players through transparency, accountability, and equitability. And the third is promoting ease of doing business by simplifying the regulatory provisions. So now I would like to throw a light on the recent recommendations which TRAI has made to the government, which aimed at propelling the growth of the broadcasting sector. So these recommendations, one by one, I will summarize. Include framework for service authorizations for the provision of broadcasting services under the Telecommunications Act 2023. So this is the most recent recommendation which we have made to the government. This recommendation aims to redefine the licensing and permission regions and align it to the Telecommunications Act 2023 to bring it an authorization-based regime and harmonizing the terms and conditions, including fees and charges for various similarly placed services. In addition, various enabling provisions have also been recommended, such as permitting infrastructure sharing wherever technically and commercially feasible, relaxing entry barriers for IPTV services, etc., to name a few. The next recommendation which I want to emphasize is about the regulatory framework on ground-based broadcasters. So as you know, today the TV channel broadcasting is done through satellite. So the broadcasters uplink their channel to the satellite and it is downlinked by the distribution platform operators at their end. So this is the only mode permissible as on date. So this recommendation on ground-based broadcasters was a long pending demand from the industry, and which required to allow the transmission medium other than satellite for broadcasting of television channels from broadcasters to DPOs. So this recommendation has been issued in January this year, and now if once accepted by the government, broadcasters can deliver the channels to MSOs through alternate means like optical fiber cable, microwave, or any other transmission medium which is other than satellite. So one thing more I want to emphasize, that while the telecommunication sector had various policies defining the roadmap, including vision, mission, goals and strategies, which has been instrumental in the growth of the telecom sector over past years. However, the broadcasting sector lacked such a roadmap, and this is a very fragmented industry. So in order to have a roadmap for growth, TRAI has recommended implementable goals and strategies for promotion of the national broadcasting policy last year in June, and that recommendation is under consideration with the government. So in FM radio broadcasting, TRAI had made a recommendation to the government for delinking the license fee from non-refundable one-time entry fee and permitting news and current affairs in FM radio channels. So this recommendation is also pending with the government. For fostering a more conducive environment and for growth and investment, TRAI has recommended certain initiatives focused on ease of doing business. So some of the recommendations of this has already been accepted, and some was related to broadcasting, and some other recommendations were related to telecom sector, because this summit is covering both telecom, broadband and broadcasting sector. So I wanted to mention this as well. Again, aligning with the nation's vision of self-reliance, TRAI has recommended certain strategies for promoting local manufacturing in television broadcasting sector. So these are some of the important recommendations made to the government. I request all of you that whenever you find time, please go through these forward-looking recommendations and may like to follow up with the government for their acceptance and implementation for the benefit of the sector. Coming back to the existing regulatory framework for broadcasting sector, you may recall that in the last amendment of the existing regulatory framework, TRAI mentioned that it will do a holistic review exercise for the sector and easing out the regulatory compliances. Accordingly, we have last month we initiated the pre-consultation meetings. We have met broadcasters, the distribution platform operators, and some of the associations of LCOs, that is local cable operators. We are yet to meet the consumer organizations and small players across the country. So during these pre-consultation meetings with the stakeholders I mentioned, the regulatory challenges of this digital age has been highlighted by many of them. And in order to address such challenges, we need to refine our existing regulatory framework such that, number one, the regulation should be platform neutral but context sensitive. That is, the same core principles should apply regardless of delivery technology, but with implementation that recognizes unique characteristics of different platforms. Next, as we have experienced that pure self-regulation often lacks accountability, while too prescriptive regulation can stifle innovation. Therefore, there is a need to have a balance and a middle path approach where the industry and regulator can come out with SOP, that is a standard operating procedure and enforcement mechanisms leading to a light touch regulation. As we all understand, the industry is going through a turbulent phase as of now due to pressures from competing technologies and evolving business models. Amongst these challenges, it is essential that all the stakeholders of linear TV industry operate and compete for coexistence and growth of the industry. So for this, they may have to part with their privileges, some of the privileges for others, and there may be a win-win situation if everybody cooperates with each other. So the disputes between different stakeholders like broadcasters, distribution platform operators, local cable operators are minimized and everybody is taken care of. So together we can make a win-win situation, and if we fragment it, then the industry is going to face the challenge of competing business models and technologies. So for this holistic exercise of revision of the regulatory framework, I urge all the stakeholders to cooperate and be ready to part with some of the privileges to others in the ecosystem to achieve balance, harmony and healthy growth of the sector. And accordingly, they are requested to provide their inputs and comments for this holistic review once a consultation paper comes out. In case you have any query or require any clarification on the regulatory framework of TRAI, please do write to us and we will be happy to respond. I close my talk here. Thank you everyone for your time and attention. I must thank the organizers from Indian Television for inviting me to be a part of this summit. Looking forward for the engaging sessions throughout the day. Thank you once again. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.